talkshoe. Recorded live.
Hi, this is Nigel. This is my second show, and this time I would like to talk about workplace mobbing, what it is, how it's done, and the psychological effect that it has on its intended target. I myself is a target of workplace mobbing. I have been going through this kind of torture campaign for over 8 years. And it has basically, they have attempted to destroy my life. But I'm still here, still standing, still going strong. And this is just one of the tactics that's being used on me. For I am a TI, for those of you who don't know, that means I am a targeted individual. I am in a program sponsored by the United States government. And when I say government, I'm speaking about all branches. Down to local law enforcement and community groups. So I would like to start off with how the word came to be. And I just want to do a couple of readings before I end the tape. The word mobbing was used by Professor...
Hold on a second. Excuse me. You may want to mute the New York button.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that noise is coming in.
Okay. Yeah, let me do that.
Okay.
Okay. The word mobbing was used by Professor Heinz Lehmann, PhD, MD, to describe a phenomenon he encountered while researching the social dynamics of the workplace. Psychological terror or mobbing in work and life involve hostile and unethical communication which is directed in a systematic manner by one or more individuals towards one individual, who, due to mobbing, is pushed into a helpless and defenseless position and held there by means of continuing mobbing activities. These actions occur on a very frequent basis, statistical definition at least once a week over a long period of time, statistical definition at least 6 months duration. Because of the high frequency and long duration of hostile behavior, this maltreatment results in considerable mental, psychosomatic, and social misery. Thus, the definition does not focus too much on activities themselves, but rather on the heavy mental strain. In other words, the distinction between conflict and mobbing, to emphasize the concept again, does not focus on what is done or how it is done, but rather on the frequency and duration of whether it is done. The scientific definition of the term mobbing thus refers to a social interaction through which one individual, seldom more than one, is attacked by one or more, seldom more than 4 individuals on almost a daily basis and for a period of many months, forcing the person into an almost helpless position with a potentially high risk of expulsion. Not infrequently, mobbing spells the end of the target career, marriage, health, and livelihood. Some of the worst cases of mobbing go on for much longer period of time and can actually continue for many years, causing severe, sometimes irreparable psychological, emotional, and physical health damage. In the worst case, this abuse has led to suicide and even incidents of workplace violence. Not infrequent, mobbing spells the end of the target career, marriage, health, and livelihood. From a study of circumstances surrounding suicide in Sweden, Lehman established that about 12% of people who take their own life have recently been mobbed at work. Kenneth Westhuse, professor of sociology at the University of Waterloo in Canada, has spent many years researching the mobbing phenomenon and has written several books and articles on the project. Title. Mobbing can be understood as a as a stressor to beat all stressor. It is an impassionate collective campaign by coworkers to exclude, punish, and humiliate a target worker. Initiate.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that again? It is a what?
It is an impassionate collective campaign by a coworker to exclude, punish, and humiliate a targeted worker.
Wow, that is so well defined. That is exactly what it is. It is a collective effort to isolate a coworker and sabotage their work.
Yeah, humiliate them. And I myself have experienced that. With my manager always blaming me for things that I have nothing to do with. Always.
So it's written already that is a premeditated. It's like they get training on how to isolate worker and sabotage everything they do.
Yeah, and when they give you certain jobs to do, they already have certain things set up or planted that either will make you, fail at doing that job or have a difficult time doing that job. Because you may get no help from others if you need help. And, a lot of times, they'll give you people to work with that are totally difficult, and you're always getting these exact same people,
Now, where are you reading from? Because I'd like to read that, too.
Sure. This is called, it's overcomebullying.org.
Overcomebullying.org. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just continue here. It says, initiate most often by a person in a position of power or influence, mobbing is a desperate urge to crush and eliminate the target. The urge travels through the workplace like a virus, infecting one person after another. The target comes to be viewed as an absolute abhorrent with no redeeming qualities outside the circle of acceptance and respectability, deserving only of contempt. As the campaign proceeds, a steadily larger range of hostile plots and communication comes to be seen as legitimate. Bullies are very good at convincing others, including coworkers and managers, that the victim deserves the abuse that they are subject to. As the attack continues day in and day out, the target begins to be worn down and eventually will make a mistake. Perhaps they will have an emotional outburst or lash back at the bully. This is stereotypical in mobbing cases, and this incident will be used to turn the tables on the target as the bully would loudly proclaim that this proves that the target is a real troublemaker. This often gives management, who has done nothing about the bullying, the opportunity to bring formal disciplinary measures against the target, and the victim wind up being the one who is punished. This adds injury to insult as the mobbing continues to escalate out of control, especially once managers have gotten on board about the abuse and have sided with the bully. So in my case, the bully to me is the FBI, okay, or the government, okay, who has, because they are the person of authority. And so when they do this and they have people involved, these people thinking that this is legitimate in what it is that they're doing. Because anytime you have a person who in a position of power, especially on the law enforcement side, okay, it is very easy for people to go along with whatever it is that they're doing. And so that is basically what mobbing is and some of the effect of what it is meant to have on the individual. And this is something that TIs who are working, not also working, but who are not working, because when you go outside, it is a form of mobbing that they do. You do get mobbed on the streets by, the so-called harassers out there that are harassing you constantly. Except if you're working now, you're in a constant place. in which is very, easy for them to do a lot of things. Like in my case, whereas I would leave my office area and I'll come back in. As I come back in, someone will either get up out of their chair or maybe, walk towards me. And there's always something that's very odd. Either they will, kick their feet out, okay, or, they would pick up a book and show me the title of it, or a magazine and show me the title of it, and then go back to their desk and sit down. So this happens on a continuous basis, on a daily basis, and it's very hard dealing with it, but you have to be strong-minded, and it's very difficult because of it, I had a psychological breakdown, and because of that, I had to basically, start taking, all these medications and all this stuff like that. But, what really happened is that I had to learn how to deal with it and not let it affect me in a way in which I'm not able to function every day. And my belief is that in order for you to overcome anything is that you have to face it head on. So that's what I'm doing. I'm facing it head on, even though I'm being tortured every day, even though, I'm being harassed every single day.
Nigel, I was wondering, what do you do for a living?
I work for a printing company.
Oh, that's right. I knew that. I got to tell you what happened in my case, and I think this had a lot to do with why the company settled with me.
Mm-hmm.
They were really putting me through the ringer, and I got a chance to go down to Oregon and work. And so without giving it serious thought, I told them that I would go down. So I got down there and was going through the training, and then I began to notice little things. And I thought, oh boy. Like all of a sudden my car started overheating abnormally, which it hadn't done before at that time. This was going back to, let's see, December of, when was 97? Either 97 or 96. And so I got to thinking, well, what if I spend all this money and move down here and they do the same thing to me down here that they did to me at home? And so I told them the next day that I wanted to go back home. And so they contacted the office that I had come from and told them. And they said, well, that I could come back on one condition. And that was that I went in for a mental evaluation. And at first, when I first tell you about it, you'd think, well, that was the worst thing I could do, but it turned out to be the best thing because it totally backfired on them. And I'll tell you how. Because I went to a local doctor in Spokane, and he put down all it, but he told me one thing and then told them just the opposite. He said he didn't find anything that bad, but he told them that he found that I had this and I had that. But the thing is, anytime you go to a local doctor, the company doctor in Colorado has to get the evaluation and give his input. And the funny part of it was, the doctor in Spokane said that I was paranoid and I was this and I was that. Well, guess what happened when the company doctor in Colorado gave his evaluation? He said there was nothing wrong with me and I could go back to work.
Mm.
So when I filed my suit against the company for improper firing, I filed not only all of these condemnations and commendation, not condemnation. Commendation, I can't even talk straight. I got to have a stack of commendations, and then I filed that where they said that I would have to go in for the mental evaluation, and then also the one where the company doctor said there was nothing wrong with me, and I think that had a lot to do with why they settled. Okay. What do you think?
Yeah, it could be. You know, I mean, it definitely could be.
Because I know my attorney brought that up. I managed to find an attorney that took over the case after I had already filed it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I told Miriam this, but he said to me, "Did you file all this?" And I said, "Well, yes. Who else would do it? Nobody else would."
Right.
And he said that he was laughing about where everything they did backfired on him.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you know, obviously, Carl, you know, they wanted to get rid of you, and
right.
That's because, you know, you were in this program.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they were basically trying to, you know, take away your means of financial support.
Well, you know, in all honesty, I'm somebody that, of course, I couldn't see it at the time, but now looking back on it, there was some of it that was my fault.
Mm-hmm.
It was not
one. But you know what, Carl? I wouldn't be so quick to blame yourself because.
Well, there was some of it that was my fault.
You could have been, you know,
such as
being manipulated before you even knew, you know, what was going on. So that is usually the case. The case is that, as you know, as a TI for a number of years, you're being manipulated until there is a point where they, you know, they basically make it known to you. You know?
And if you believe it was your fault, Carl, then that's not job mobbing.
I didn't say it was totally my fault, but I should have had a better attitude. See, that was an odd situation but I wasn't the only one that did it. I could see other people doing it too that came from my department.
Well, why do you think why do you believe what happened to you is affiliated with job mobbing?
Well, wouldn't you call requiring somebody that worked there 15 years to have a mental evaluation job mobbing?
Oh
yeah. Without reason or cause.
How were you acting?
What triggered that?
Yeah, but not to that, Maria. But Carl, what kind of how were you acting towards your coworker or toward the people that call in to make them believe that you need to have a mental evaluation?
They were taking some little thing and making a mountain out of a molehill.
Okay. Yeah, that is usually the case. You know, because what happens is that if you do something, Miriam, and this is the job mobbing is in my case, for example. Let's say I'm given a job to do, okay, and I do the job, I do everything right, all right, my manager will find something to complain about.
Yep, that's the same way with me.
They will always find something to complain about, even though you've done nothing wrong. Okay, or maybe somebody else did it, and you tell them, well, it wasn't, I didn't do it. His attitude, well, you know what, if you saw it and it wasn't right, you should fix it. But yet, he doesn't say that to the other.
I think the person who made the error is the person you need to be speaking to. That's how that should go.
Thank you, because if it was my mistake, I would have been called into his office and say that I need to correct my mistakes.
Right, and I would say that's the purpose of the manager. The manager's purpose is to go to the person that made the error. If you want me to correct other people's error,
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. If it's somebody else who's making a mistake, basically I have to correct the error.
That's ridiculous that they would go after someone else. No.
Yeah, I mean that's
that is
so in other words,
job mobbing is no matter what you do, they have already met, and from the law department on down, has instructed this hitman to basically come after you. That's it. And that's all that matters. That's what the whole workplace turns into, like a demonic where the rules don't matter, regulations don't matter. The only thing matters is the antagonizing of the target.
Yep.
Yeah. It is it's a very, very tough situation. It's.
How long has this been going on for you?
Over 8 years.
Oh my gosh.
That
How
I
long
know.
have you worked there?
That I know. Okay, but I know, just from the things that are being done, that it's been going on a lot longer. From the things that when I look back and I remember certain events that happened, in my life before this has become known to me, I now realize that that I have been a target way longer than than what I say. It's I mean, it's one of those things where when you're going through this and you look back 10 years ago, and certain things are happening to you, and you're just like wow, I was really being targeted way before that, and that's the thing there. So it's like when you realize that all this time that you've been you were being manipulated, okay, up until a point where you probably made a mistake, or some, as I was reading, it says that when you kind of like do this to a person, you mob them to the point where eventually they're gonna have some kind of breakdown, and at that point, it's like at that point.
That's actually the goal. Yeah, the goal. Yeah, that's what's so sad. To have you lose your job and break down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're still working there, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm still working there, but trust me, Carl, let me tell you, I go there every single day, and I get threatened,
Like what?
And it's not in.
What you do is carry a little tiny. You mean you get threatened with being fired, or?
Well, it's kind of they put it in a very subtle way, like things are being done in a very subtle way, secretively,
That's always the way it is.
It's like I'm leaving the house going to work, and somebody would approach me and would kind of like make their finger like a gun, that kind of thing, and you see it and just like you make your finger like a gun call, like a right? They do that, and they put it to their temple as they're walking towards me, that kind of thing,
Wow, that's some sick stuff. That's
you know the person that's doing it?
Well, no, because they don't always use the same person, and that's why it's so hard to really say to somebody.
Well, you have a real small video camera?
I had a small video camera, and they know.
I would get pictures of that.
They see it.
If somebody came in front of me making a hand signal like a gun, I would get pictures of that.
Yep, they see. Or I'm at work, and my coworker sitting next to me. He'll pinch his nose and then stick his finger in his ear. And you go through that every single day. It's like, well, what do you? Obviously they're trying to,
Actually, what is pinch the nose and stick the finger in the air? That's like
it's some kind of subliminal messaging, So when I see them
like
do
you
it,
should kill yourself or something like a gun to your head.
When I see them do it, it's when I see them do it, sometimes I do it back, and the other time I just ignore it because it's really, it doesn't make any sense. Like for me, it doesn't, So it's just one of those things.
See, they can make bad smells follow you wherever you go. Mm-hmm. I found that out, and it doesn't matter how often you are.
Paul, you know how to get around in terms of like just having one person following you, because what happens if you just have one person following you all the time? You can stop a police officer or have you and say, this person has been following me, but the way how they get around that is that they don't always use the same people.
Right.
They use different people. So if you can't go around saying to everybody, stop following me, or flag down a police officer and say this person followed me, that person's followed me.
Well, actually,
if you start blaming everybody to follow you, then they're gonna really make you look like you're crazy.
Well, they're getting so now it doesn't have to happen more than once. If somebody makes a signal like firing a gun, they've got things now so they can go after them just for that.
Well, in some states it is illegal to do that. In some states it is illegal. Well, actually, I know in certain European countries that is considered to be a threat against a person's life.
A threat.
Yep. So that's one of the the things that with here there is no. And the thing is that, this is, like I said, this is a government-run program, so, the laws are set up to which they can get away with it. In Michigan, I think it's the only state that has a law passed against using electronic harassment against an individual.
Who does?
Michigan.
Yeah, but that's a little bit different. Just using your hand like a gun is a little bit different.
Yeah, I know. But, I can't call the cops and say, this person, because I don't know that person. And I can't stop that person and say, well, what's your name? And, they're going to, of course they're not going to tell me their name,
No, but you can surely take a videotape of it. If you're stupid enough to come in my face and make a hand signal of the gun to your head, I'll take a picture of that.
Once they see the camera, they stop. Once they see the camera, they stop.
Well, and making sure they don't see the camera.
Yeah, which is very, very hard.
So why don't you carry a camera?
I do carry a camera.
Oh, okay.
I do carry a camera, but, in terms of those people who are doing those things, I really, because it happens so,
You would have to go to a place that specializes in, like hidden cameras and covert investigations, which they have.
Yeah, all on the internet. They got a pen camera, nice one. Most of those are created for the judiciary, too, to tape the proceedings that are going on in there.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be taping them, are they?
Yeah, it is.
Your life is involved. You do what you have to do.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. But what I do tape a lot, I tape a lot of the harassment that I get from the police and fire department. That's what I tape.
Why don't you explain to the audience what do you mean by that?
I have a lot of videos from the police harassment and the fire department harassment.
And what is police harassment and fire department harassment?
Well, yeah, like the police will do the same thing in terms of like either pulling their ears or they see me and then they'll pull their ears, and also they'll do the pinching of the nose type of thing, And then
tell me, these federal government demons have gone into the police departments and fire departments and have hired, have criminals in there that partake in these programs.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people talk about that.
Wow.
Yeah, and like sometimes when I go home late, at night, right? What would happen is that there would be like a fire truck that would be parked up, with the lights going, okay, and there would be nobody in there. There would be nobody in them area. It's like they all just disappear, okay. But yet the fire truck is outside, parked in the street, right? Not directly on my block, but maybe on the next block, because I walk up that block to get to my block. So they would do that. Even the police department, where it would be like an empty police car, but they have the sirens just going, and there would be there's no police officer in there, nothing at all, and just the police car just sitting there in the street with usually I'm driving that way or I'm walking in that direction, and that's what they do.
Wow.
In terms of also always you leave your house, there's always like a fire truck passing towards you. Sometimes when you start to see them, multiple times during the day, when you're outside, then you're being harassed by the fire department.
Nigel, I think you might be interested in this. Several years ago, you talk about abuse by police. This man was doing nothing except using a cash machine at a convenience store, and some woman called the police and said that he was doing something suspicious. About 10 cops came, and they showed this on the news many times. They beat him over and over and over, and then took him to the hospital where he died.
Wow.
And this is from yesterday's paper.
Mm-hmm.
The headline on the front page, his name was Otto Zem, Z-E-H-M.
Mm-hmm.
And the headline on the front page says, charge stands in Zem case. Officer says he didn't promise truth, judge unswayed. They accused the police of lying, the police officer of lying, and he said, well, I didn't promise to tell the truth. Now, can you imagine a policeman saying something like that?
Yeah.
But this is the article.
Wow.
Spokane police officer Carl F. Thompson, Jr., accused of lying to investigators over the fatal confrontation with Otto Zim, unsuccessfully sought to get the charge dismissed Tuesday. This is just last Tuesday, arguing that he never swore to tell the truth during his interview with detectives. Although his defense lawyer, Karl Kreshkovich, later insisted that Thompson told the truth during the interview.
But can I just interject 1 minute? See, this is where the oath of office takes apart, because you may not have sworn to tell the truth at that particular hearing, but as a public officer, you signed, and you cannot work without having on file that oath of office, which is a sworn testimony to uphold the rules and regulations of this country. And in that oath, there is a presumption of truth. And that's where he should be in.
Reading the article says the distinction was drawn during a hearing in U.S. District Court as part of an effort to get the lying charge thrown out on a legal technicality. Oreskovich said the charge should be dismissed because Thompson didn't... Well, I'm going to have to change it.
And let me say, that wasn't a legal technicality. That's called a legal circus.
Yeah. Well, it didn't work because the lying charge stood. The judge refused to change it.
Well, thank God for a decent judge.
Didn't swear to tell the truth in the recorded interview, and that it was someone else who prepared a transcript of the conversation with detectives. U.S. District Court Judge Fred Van Sickle, however, didn't buy it. This is part of an investigation that was conducted. It was recorded clearly at the consent of Officer Thompson, Van Sickle said. To state this is somehow created by a third party strikes me as putting form over substance. The swift rejection Tuesday means Thompson will stand trial June 2nd on charges of lying to investigators and using excessive force during the March 18, 2006 encounter with Zim, a mentally ill janitor, beaten and hogtied by police after being mistakenly accused of stealing money. The argument drew spirited debate. Thompson doesn't say I certify the accuracy of the document. Oreskovich said in court, there is no affirmation that suggests the transcript was in any way affirmed or adopted by him. However, Oreskovich acknowledged that Thompson consented to allow Spokane Police Detective Terry Ferguson to record an interview on March 22nd, 2006, following an off-the-record interview that was not recorded. 5 days later, Thompson signed a copy of the transcript of that taped interview under the heading Reviewed by. Federal prosecutors contend that Thompson's statement embellished the threat posed by Zim and contradicted the statement of eyewitnesses and video from surveillance cameras that captured the confrontation with Zim. Thompson beat Zim with a baton and jolted him with a taser after two young women erroneously reported that Zim stole their money out of an ATM. Now, how would he steal their money out of an ATM without giving him their code? Oreskovich stated or asked for the dismissal under the premise that Thompson did not create a false record or alter an existing record. Our position is he did not create a record. It was created by a third party. Oreskovich said he consented to the interview, but when we get to the transcription, there is no evidence that he did anything other than review it. But Victor Boutros, a U.S. Department of Justice trial attorney from Washington, D.C., said Oreskevich can't avoid the law by arguing that Thompson didn't actively record or transcribe his interview. Who made the false statement, Boutros asked. Because it was a taped interview does not mean it doesn't fall under the law. Boutros said that under Oreskevich's argument, any officer who made a false statement can avoid it by simply dictating their false statement and have them transcribed by someone else. Van Sickles, who's the judge, said it is not disputed that Thompson signed a transcript of his statement. Asked after the hearing whether his client told the truth during the interview with Ferguson, Oreskevich replied, "Absolutely, it just wasn't a sworn statement." During the hearing, Oreskevich made mention of the ongoing grand jury investigation seeking to determine whether other Spokane police officers obstructed the Zim investigation. Last week, Assistant U.S. Attorney Tim Durkin filed court documents indicating that Ferguson and Detective Mark Burbridge either omitted statements or used only those statements that appeared more favorable to Thompson. Ferguson, who acknowledged that her report was inaccurate when she wrote Spokane County prosecutors that she didn't find any evidence of excessive force by Thompson. Assistant Chief Jim Nix, who for months claimed Zim provoked the confrontation when he lunged or attacked Thompson, is now prepared to testify that Thompson's statement to Ferguson was materially inaccurate. So he's changing his story too.
Okay.
When compared with the surveillance tape, see, if they hadn't had the surveillance tape, they wouldn't have had a leg to stand on, but they had the proof that they lied.
Carl, before you continue, I just want to get back and the topic that I was discussing before I close out the tape, which was mobbing in the workplace. And
well, a lot of it has lying and harassment by the police too, which falls under the same thing. Only this guy, poor guy, wasn't working. All he was doing was standing there using an ATM machine, and he was attacked by police.
Wow. Yeah, that's one of the things. Miriam, I just want to and also go through some of the hand signal, which in this website called Gang Stalking World. Let me see if I can find it here. So it says about signals and symbols and what they do.
Let me ask you, the police and the fire department, do they make these symbols too, these signals to you too?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
My God. Mm.
And even like I'll be walking to work and like there's a fire truck that's turning down the block and the fireman would stick his hands out of the window and will do the hand signal also, you know. So this is their interpretation of what some of the signals are, right? And it says here when they're giving signals to other people, also other perps, watch out, subject is coming. Then they touch their nose with hand or handkerchief, right? Subject is moving on, going further or overtaken, stroke hair with hands, or raise hat briefly. This is all, some of the stuff that they do. Subject standing still, lay one hand against back or on stomach. Observant agent wish to terminate observance because cover threatened. Bend and retie shoelace. Subject returning, both hands against back or on stomach.
You ought to start using those hand signals.
I do use it against them sometimes. I do.
What do they do then?
But I try not to because they react. It's gotten to the point where I can't even scratch my head in public without they're thinking that I'm sending some kind of message. And it's very funny, okay? Because a lot of times, like, I'm scratching my head because my head is itching, and and I'll scratch my head, and then you'll see them. They'll start touching their nose, they start pulling their ears, they start doing that. And I'm like, I'm not paying you no mind. I'm just I'm just scratching my head. So if you want to think that I'm sending you some kind of whatever your message, that's your business. But it's just very funny, because everything that they do is that they also, watch for your reaction. So, if you're moving your hand anyway, they're fixated on your actions, and that's one of the things where, I'm just like, this is like really where in terms of where, you're not only did they train you into, recognizing these things, but, you can turn around and train them into certain things also, so it's like, because it's psychological. Where it says observant agent wishes to speak with team leader or other observant agent, so they take out a briefcase or equivalent and examine content. And this is something what their interpretation of these signals mean. Basically, I have no interpretation of what they mean. I just know that it's been done in certain sequence, and sometimes I do it back in the same sequence. So if I see people do something in front of me and it follows a certain sequence, then I'll do it back in that exact same sequence. But it's something that we all, not all of us, because I know Miriam don't really get the hand signal thing, but it's just something that I know I experienced and other TI experience also. And all of that is considered mobbing. It's just it's not workplace mobbing, but it's you're outside the workplace, you're in the street, you're on the train, you're on the bus, or what have you, and it's the exact same thing. So I'm just going to close out the tape.
Right. I just want to add, it all falls under psychological operations. And if anyone wants to, you can go into Wikipedia and just look up psychological operations, so that you know where this is coming from. These are criminal secrecy-based government programs, and that's why. This is nothing we're making up. These are criminal programs, and they're listed as psychological operations, and they got by government people saying it was the techniques used for the enemy in other countries. And what has happened is the enemy is right here within the United States. These are the people perpetrating. These are the people that go to these police departments, fire departments, job places, and they actually train and teach people how to be a part of this criminal program. So nothing's by coincidence. This is where it's coming from. Please go to the internet, look up psychological operations.
Yeah, and like I said, as you said, this is definitely a government operation, because if it's not a government operation, the amount of people that they have involved would not be involved. But because it is a government operation, and because they basically have someone in law enforcement will go around and saying these things about a target, without even
with no proof to it.
Not no proof, but people don't even question it. It's something there. And what people don't realize is that a lot of they put you in certain situations and in certain situations where where you're drugged and where you might do something, and then they might try to use that to blackmail you or to launch this kind of campaign against you. So it's very easy for them to get someone into this program, okay, because they know what they're doing. They have years of experience in terms of covertly drugging people, covertly putting them in situations where they will orchestrate the outcome, which would be very unfavorable to that individual to put them in this program. That is just the way in terms of how they operate. It's a modern day COINTELPRO, and that's basically what it is. The model day COINTELPRO is to infiltrate, to discredit, to destroy an individual's life for whatever reason. And it just.
And the reason's usually because we can, and that's it. Simply because we can.
Exactly, simply because they can. And TIs have to be very careful in some of the things that they say, because they will basically use the V2K on you and make you say something, and then they can turn around and try to use that against you, make you say something negative. And like I said, all my years of experience, especially when I see people, especially like I said, when I leave work, my coworkers would stand by the machine that I punched out at, and they would basically take their phone and put it back in their pocket. And I see people do that all the time, and it just bothers me. Like, what is it with the cell phone? Like what is it with the cell phone? I really don't understand. But obviously, they have a purpose in doing that, and my two guesses is that one, they're letting me know that they basically tapped my cell phone, or they're basically saying that I guess it would be the same thing. Just they have recorded my conversation on my cell phone, and they're using my conversation against me or whatever. But I don't really care, because like I said, I know that being put in this program, once you're drugged, when they use these V2K machines, that you would say things and you would believe things that you think your mind is telling you to do, but it's not really you. It's because of what they're doing. And that's why I say, Carl, that you shouldn't really blame yourself on what happened with your situation, because they could have been using V2K on you to make you act a certain way or to make you say a certain thing.
True.
And and so therefore, and then try to use that against you in terms of getting you fired from your job.
That's true.
Okay, so I'm just want to close.
Wait, before you hold out, Ann had fell off, but I spoke to her and I asked her, did she have anything she wanted to add on about job mobbing, and she said, she would, just say a little bit about what they put her through. So just give me a second. I'm trying to connect to that. Are you in? Ann, are you in?
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
I'm here.
Yeah, he's talking about job mobbing. You wanted to
add anything to that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I can readily identify that is part of what we're going through as electromagnetic victims, as well as gang stalking. Job mobbing is just another feature to the gang stalking. And, of course, everywhere you go, you're being gang stalked and you're being terrorized, whether that's at a grocery store, whether that's at church, or whether it is on your job. Your perpetrator has hired various individuals to make your life miserable, to haunt and stalk you everywhere you go, whether that's in the washroom on the job, or walking to your car, or just coming in the mornings, and people will stalk you at the entrance of the door, and they will meet you and stalk you as you're entering the job area. And there are people who will purposely harass you all day long and follow you about your office and do various things and plant various
things. The signals to you? The signals. He was talking a little bit about the signals. Did they do any signals with you?
As far as the job market? Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Signals is something that they do use, as well as the cell phone. Cell phone is a popular tool, as well as walkie-talkies and things like that. Some of the latest things in technologies they do use to communicate with one another, and you readily see this with them when they are definitely in the pursuit and stalking, harassing of the victim. So that's something I am familiar with, and I do know that it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ann. I really appreciate that. And call for the reading.
Oh, sure. No problem.
Miriam, thank you also.
No problem.
I'm now going to close out the tape.
Okay. I think it was great.